In 6 years working inside Disneyland, I watched guests walk away from a refund that averaged over $80 per visit. It happens on nearly every single trip, and 95% of visitors never claim it. Not because they can't, but because they don't know the words to say when they walk up to that window. If you're watching this right now, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Okay, let's get into it. You might think you already know Disneyland well enough. Maybe you've got the app dialed in. Maybe you know which rides to hit first, which shortcuts to take, which lines move fastest. But here's what I need you to understand right now. I wasn't a guest trying to outsmart Disney. I was the cast member standing on the other side of that window, watching the exact same situations play out every single week for 6 years straight. The refunds that actually get processed. The accommodations most guests never think to request. The recovery experiences that Disney builds directly into its operating procedures, but never puts on a sign. Most people walk right past them on their way to the parking structure and never know they existed. My name is Marcus. I spent 6 years at Disneyland. I started as an attractions cast member working rides across Fantasyland and eventually Tomorrowland. From there, I moved into guest relations, the department that operates behind the windows at City Hall and the main entrance. And I spent my last 2 years as a lead in what internally we called the Guest Experience Recovery Team, the group that handles complaints, compensation, and every situation inside the park that goes wrong. And now that I'm not wearing that costume anymore, I can tell you what working cast members cannot say out loud on property. What I'm about to walk you through isn't about gaming the system or finding loopholes. These are actual policies, accommodations, and recovery tools written into Disney's own internal procedures. The cast members at those guest services windows know every single one of them. They process these requests every day, but Disney does not advertise them on the app or at the front gate, and they only activate when you know the exact words to use when you ask. I watch families lose hundreds of dollars over situations that had a fix sitting right there, unclaimed, because nobody told them the fix existed. I watch guests leave Disneyland angry and exhausted over experiences that guest relations could have made right in under 5 minutes if the guest had known what to say. So in this video, I am walking you through every refund, recovery option, and guest accommodation that Disney builds into the system but never announces. Some of these will save you real money on your next visit. Some of them will save you a ruined day. And at least 2 of them will genuinely surprise you, even if you've been to the park 20 times. Let's start with the one that costs guests the most money, every single trip, without exception. When you purchase an individual lightning lane for a specific attraction, you are paying per person. Depending on the ride and the day, that cost runs anywhere from $15 to $25 per person. For a family of 4, that is close to $100 for a single attraction. Now here is what almost nobody knows. If that attraction goes down for an unplanned closure after you have tapped your lightning lane at the entrance, or at any point during the window when your selection is valid, and you were unable to ride, you are entitled to a full refund of that individual lightning lane charge. Every time. No argument required. No manager needed. The problem is Disney does not tell you this automatically. The in-app notification that appears when an attraction closes does not include a refund prompt. The cast members working the queue closure are not going to follow you out and offer your money back. The refund does not process on its own. You have to go claim it. Here is what you say. Walk to any guest services window, at City Hall, at the main entrance, or at the satellite guest relations locations inside the park. Look the cast member in the eye and say this exactly. I purchased an individual lightning lane for a specific attraction, and the ride went down during my return window before I was able to ride. I would like to request a refund for that lightning lane. That is the entire script. No scene. No raised voice, no demand. Just those 2 sentences. The cast member can process the refund directly from their terminal. When I worked that window, it took me about 90 seconds. But on most days, there were dozens of guests who were completely entitled to that refund, walking out of the park without it, because they assumed someone would offer it to them. No one will. You have to ask. The refund goes back to the original card. Most banks clear it in 3 to 5 business days. And yes, it applies to every member of your party who purchased the Lightning Lane individually, not just the person who booked the reservation. Now here is the one that surprises most people, and it goes further than a single ride. Disneyland operates what is internally called a guest experience recovery system. Guest relations cast members have access to what we refer to as experiential recovery tools. These are pre-approved accommodations that can be offered when a guest's experience was genuinely impacted by something within Disney's control. That includes complimentary Lightning Lane return, passes valid for any attraction in the park, merchandise credits, dining credits, and in certain situations, admission credits toward a future visit. These are not handed out at random, and they are not announced at the window. They exist at the discretion of the cast member. But that discretion is backed by a real internal policy. The phrase that opens this conversation is specific. Do not walk up and say everything went wrong today. Do not give a broad complaint. That approach closes the door before it opens. Walk up to a guest services window and say this: I wanted to let guest services know that our experience today was significantly impacted by a situation outside our control as guests, and I wanted to understand what options might be available to us. That phrasing tells the cast member that you are aware the recovery system exists. It opens a door that a general complaint cannot open. The difference between guests who left my window with a complimentary Lightning Lane return and guests who left with nothing was almost always those exact words. Almost every time. If you are getting value from this video, tap that subscribe button right now and hit the bell so YouTube sends you these the moment they go live. I have years of this material to share, and I am just getting started. Now I want to talk about something that costs families real money and genuine frustration on almost every visit, and it has to do with Genie Plus. Genie Plus is the paid planning service, priced currently around $25 per person per day, that allows unlimited Lightning Lane selections throughout the day. Here is what the app will not tell you. If Genie Plus fails to deliver meaningful service because of documented technical failures, because the app crashed repeatedly, because Lightning Lane availability was system-wide unavailable for a significant portion of your day, or because your selections were processed incorrectly and not honored, that is a recorded service failure. Guest Relations has the authority to credit or refund your Genie Plus purchase. The important detail here is that you cannot claim this simply because the lines were long or the day was busy. But if the technology failed in a way you can document, you have a legitimate request. Here is what you say: I purchased Genie Plus for our party today. We experienced significant technical issues with the app that prevented us from accessing Lightning Lane selections during a large portion of the day. I have screenshots. I would like to request a credit or refund for today's Genie Plus purchase. The screenshots matter. Bring them. They transform a subjective complaint into documented evidence of a service failure. And that changes everything about how the conversation proceeds at that window. Here is the next one. And most guests have never even heard the name of this program. If a member of your party has a physical, cognitive, or sensory condition that makes it difficult or impossible to wait in a traditional standby queue environment, Disneyland offers the Disability Access Service. Most people know it as DAS. It allows your entire group to receive a return time for any attraction equal to the current posted standby wait. So the individual with the condition and your full party can wait anywhere else in the park instead of standing in the physical queue. The service is completely free and it covers every person in your group up to the standard party size limit. Here is what most families miss entirely. DAS does not reduce the number of rides you experience. It changes where you wait for them. On a high attendance day, a family using DAS correctly can experience a significantly better version of the park than one standing in queues for 6 consecutive hours. You can request DAS at Guest Relations on the day of your visit, or through a pre-arrival video chat process available in the weeks before your trip through Disney's accessibility services. Here is what you say when you arrive at any Guest Relations window. I would like to speak with someone about the Disability Access Service for a member of our party. You do not need to present a diagnosis or a medical document. You describe the functional limitation, meaning what is difficult or impossible for that person in a standard queue environment. The cast member guides the rest of the process from there. I helped hundreds of families access this accommodation during my years in guest relations. The families who had the best outcomes were calm, specific, and knew the name of the service when they walked up to the window. That alone made the conversation easier for everyone. Now here is the one that caused more genuine heartbreak at my window than almost anything else, and it is completely preventable. When a paid special experience at Disneyland is significantly compromised by something within Disney's operational control, a dessert party with venue failures, a character breakfast that was cut short, a reserved dining experience with a serious service problem, you can request a partial or full refund. But the window to do this is strict. You must report the issue on the same day as the experience while you are still in the park, not the following morning, not from home, not through an email 2 days later. I had guests come to my window the day after a paid experience with completely valid complaints about situations that absolutely warranted compensation. My hands were tied. The recovery system for paid experiences requires same-day reporting. The guests who received resolution were the ones who walked directly from the experience to the nearest guest relations window that same afternoon and said this: "We just attended a paid special experience and it was significantly impacted by an issue outside our control as guests. I am here to report this today and to understand what resolution is available." The phrase "I am here to report this today" signals that you understand the process. It changes the entire opening of that conversation. Same day, every time. We are halfway through this, and I want to make sure none of this gets lost. If you have not subscribed yet, do it right now and hit that bell. Every one of these tips is real, and the ones coming up are just as important. Here is one that is completely free and almost nobody uses it correctly. Disneyland has a program called Rider Switch, sometimes referred to as Baby Swap. If you are traveling with a child who does not meet the height requirement for a specific attraction, one adult in your group rides while the other waits with the child. When the first adult exits, the waiting adult goes directly into the Lightning Lane entrance for their ride without waiting in the standby queue again. No Lightning Lane purchase required, no Genie Plus needed. It is built into the standard operating procedure for every height-restricted attraction in both parks. Here is the part almost no one knows. The Rider Switch Pass, issued at the attraction entrance, is valid for up to 3 adults in your waiting party. So, if you are traveling with another couple, both of the waiting adults plus one additional person can ride together on your Rider Switch. Your group effectively gets 2 full ride experiences for the wait of 1. Here is what you say when you approach the attraction entrance. "We have a child who does not meet the height requirement. Could we get a Rider Switch for our party?" The cast member at the entrance handles the process from there. You just need to ask. Most families I worked with during my time at the park had never heard that the 3-person capacity existed. Now here is the one I really need you to understand. This is what I want you to remember above everything else in this video. When you walk up to any guest relations window in Disneyland, the cast member on the other side can see your full visit history, your purchase records, your linked ticket activity, your Lightning Lane transaction log, and any notes entered from previous guest relations interactions at the park. If you have visited before, that history is visible. If you have had past complaints, those are visible too. That visibility works in your favor when you approach correctly. A cast member who sees a returning guest, a multi-day ticket holder, a first-time visitor who clearly planned and invested in their trip and who hears a calm, specific, reasonable account of a genuine problem, has real discretion to offer recovery tools that do not appear on any posted menu anywhere in the park. That discretion vanishes when a guest is rude, vague, or when the account history reflects repeated similar complaints on previous visits. I had a family come to my window whose parade viewing location had been blocked by an unannounced operational setup, an unfortunate situation. The mother came to the window calmly and said exactly this: "We had planned to watch the parade from a specific area, and our view was completely blocked by an operational setup we were not informed about. We would just like to let guest services know, and we wanted to understand if anything was available. I gave her a Lightning Lane return pass for any attraction in the park, a complimentary photo pass download credit, and a notation on the account. I did not have to do any of that. I wanted to. Her approach gave me every reason to go to bat for her. That same week, I had a guest at my window furious about a 40-minute standby wait he believed was misrepresented on the app. His account showed 3 similar complaints filed over his last 2 visits. I helped him within policy, nothing further. The cast member at that window is a human being with genuine discretion and real authority to make your day significantly better. You either give them a reason to use it in your favor or you do not. Be specific. Be calm. Be reasonable about what you are asking for. And be kind every single time, because it matters more than any tip I could give you. Before the last one, if you have watched this far and found it useful, now is the time to hit subscribe. The next video goes even deeper into what happens inside the park that guests never see, and I do not want you to miss it. Here is the final one, and I have been saving it intentionally. Disneyland sells PhotoPass photography throughout both parks. Individual downloads, the Memory Maker package, and on-ride attraction photos all carry real costs that add up quickly. Here is what almost no guest knows. If your purchased photos are technically compromised, blurry, incorrectly framed due to a cast member photographer error, or missing from your account entirely after a properly completed Magic Shot interaction, you can request a refund or a reshoot credit at any guest relations window. But the window for this is tight. Photo concerns must be raised on the day of purchase or within 24 hours while you are still in the park. Here is what you say. I purchased photo downloads today, and several of the images were technically compromised through no fault of our own. I would like to request a credit for those photos or a reshoot opportunity with a PhotoPass photographer. If you have the original images accessible on your phone or through the app, show them. The cast member needs to see the issue. When there is clear evidence of a quality problem, the resolution is almost always immediate and handled at that window in a matter of minutes. Here is the thread that runs through everything I shared with you today. Every single one of these tools exists because Disneyland built flexibility into its own system. Guest relations cast members carry discretion. Recovery policies have real and meaningful scope. Accommodations exist that were never designed to be secret. They are just never announced. But you have to ask, and you have to ask the right way. The individual Lightning Lane refund I opened this video with, the one that costs guests an average of over $80 per visit in money they were entitled to, but never claimed. You can recover every cent of it with 2 sentences at any guest services window, but only if you know to walk up and say them. You do not need to memorize everything in this video before your next trip. Pick the 2 or 3 situations that are most likely to apply to your visit. Start there, because once you understand how this system actually works, a day at Disneyland stops feeling like something that happens to you and starts feeling like something you are genuinely in control of. 6 years behind that window taught me one thing above everything else. The guests who had the best days were not the ones who spent the most money. They were the ones who showed up knowing what to ask for, who asked it calmly and specifically, and who understood that the cast member standing in front of them at that window has more power to make things right than most guests will ever realize. So before your next trip, save this video, write down the phrases, and if something goes wrong inside that park, go to guest relations the same day, use the right words, and let the system do exactly what it was built to do. Disney is not hiding these recovery tools because the company wants to take advantage of you. They just are not going to put them on a billboard. Now you know they exist, and now you know exactly what to say. If this is going to save you money on your next trip, tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and if you are not subscribed yet, do it now, because the next video is already planned and it goes places this one did not. I will see you there.